All right, what y'all think about that song? We finally did it. We got a theme song.
We've been promising this for a very long time.
I can't believe it. My brother came through for me. He did it. I can't believe it. He did it. So I'm excited about that.
We're official.
And we are official. And guess what? This is number 10 of our podcast. We made it to episode 10. And a lot of y'all say we couldn't make it to episode 4, but here we are at episode 10, and I'm so happy and proud of it. And we have our own theme song today and a jam-packed show for you, our listeners. Thank you for your support that you've given us over the last 2 months. Without that support, we would not be doing this.
And yeah, that's true.
So you guys continue to...
we wouldn't have a jingle either.
We wouldn't have a jingle. We wouldn't have these cool little microphones. And every episode, it seems like we have one more thing that's... awesome, and so we appreciate all those things. But anyway, how are you guys doing? You've been working this week.
I did work all week.
Up in Cleveland.
I'll tell you though, here in Kentucky where we're at, it has rained non-stop for like 2 weeks.
Big time.
Big time.
Supposed
big
to rain,
time
supposed to rain some more too.
I was gonna say, I think it's supposed to rain. I don't think it's done. But then going up to Cleveland, which is where I work, going up to Cleveland, it is like night and day. It is. Brittany went with me yesterday. It was perfect. It was like 70 degrees all week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all week. 70 degrees. No clouds in the sky, and then I come back down here and it's raining.
Well, it's funny because you almost get like 4 different weather patterns. You have the Cleveland pattern, you have the Columbus weather, you have the Cincinnati weather, then the Kentucky weather. So
yeah, for those of you who don't know, Cleveland is at the very top of Ohio.
Yeah, right by the lakes.
Good old lakes.
The Great Lakes. So you, anyway, so I'm excited. I tell you, it's been a
nice.
busy week, a crazy week, but the sun is shining today, and we are excited because we are finally starting church back this Sunday.
2 days.
So we're getting things ready. We have signs up to tell people where to go and how to act and how to be appropriate. We have 2 services that we're doing to keep our numbers limited to a certain amount of number, and I just hope that everybody follows the thing. It's up to them. We did everything we could. We're leaving it up to the people, and I hope they use their wisdom and discernment, and hope everything goes well. But I'm excited to finally go back to church.
Me too.
I was getting tired of preaching to nobody.
I had a great week. I love just getting back to the usual and getting stuff ready
What do you mean
this
the
week's
usual?
service. Getting stuff ready for this
yeah.
week's service. I mean, that was really fun. I actually really enjoyed that. And doing better than like what we did before. Like that was my goal, is to just make it better, easier, simpler. I don't know. Loved it. No comment.
No comment.
Been an interesting morning with these two.
It's been a
just
fun
let
morning.
you
Yeah,
guys
exactly.
know.
Brittany's in one of her rare moods.
We could have a segment.
I noticed about Brittany now. I actually have it written on here something about I've noticed about Brittany, but we'll do that segment a little later. I have it in my list of what to do later. So
I'm going to do a segment called What I Noticed About You Two.
Okay, we'll let you have
try
it.
But I'm going to do mine first, but we'll do it later. Listen, somebody told me we have an email.
We have an email. This one's from a young man named Gabe.
Mr. Gabe!
This is the second question, by the way.
Second email to the question.
So,
Thank you, Mr.
First he
Gabe.
starts out, he says, hey.
First off, where can people send us a question if they have one?
It's in the outro, but that's okay. They can send us an email, preachingyoung, no caps, no spaces, @gmail.com.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Let's hear what Gabe had to
Anyway,
say.
Gabe says, first he says, hey. Hello. He says,
Hey,
hello.
Gabe.
Yeah, hey Gabe, how's it going? He says, I can't believe it's already episode 10.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
People said we couldn't make it to episode 4. Look at you now, he says.
Did they put that in there?
He put that. No joke.
Huh.
Read this.
I just said that.
I know you did.
That's amazing.
Other people are recognizing it.
Wow. Cool.
We have a follower. Anyway, the question is that I have for you guys is, what is a sin that you guys have dealt with in your past / are currently dealing with?
Yeah.
That you're currently dealing with,
Yeah.
and what are ways you defeated it or are working to overcome it?
Well, I would say, just right off the top of my head, my biggest sin is anger. And oh my goodness.
Already, here we go.
Anyway, anger's been when I was younger too. My whole family used to call me high strung because I used to get so angry all the time. Growing up, I've kind of been able to mellow out just a little bit, but anger is still something that I'm always having to work on. And I even preached on anger a little bit on Wednesday services, being slow to anger, but it's something that is a struggle. And really the greatest thing that you have to do is, and this is something that I try to do all the time, is am I causing a problem or am I solving a problem? Am I a problem solver or a problem causer? Once you find that out, it's pretty good. And I found out that it's really the people that you hang around with. Like, what's causing you to be angry? What's making you mad? Why are you mad? Is it worth your time? Is it worth yelling at people? Right?
There's a reason.
Because when you hang around with people that you like and enjoy, you don't get upset all the time. But when you're hanging around with people like some people, you know, you get angry easily.
That was a shot to Brittany.
But anyway, no, I'll say anger is the hardest thing, and really it's just a work in process. Here's the thing: none of us are perfect, right?
Amen to that one.
And we're all sinners, and we serve a perfect Savior. And I think sometimes we act like we have to put on a perception that we are perfect in everything. And the reality is, there's things that we all have sins, and we're all working at it. And it's just that's where I stand on it.
I think I'll piggyback on what you said there at the end. I think one of the issues that I've dealt with going through high school too was trying to please people. I don't know if that's necessarily a sin, but it is. I would say.
Because you're supposed to be pleasing God.
But and it's hard to get out of the mindset of doing that because, you know, everything in your life the world is telling you that you have to like
the
do
world,
certain things.
your family members, your friends, everybody's telling you
yeah.
you got to do this. You're 18. You gotta go. I don't know what do you do at 18.
Go to college.
Yeah, boy, you're 21. You know, it's your birthday. You gotta get something to drink. You know, like those kind of peer pressures are very.
But I think
evident.
and I would say this is a past thing because looking at it now, I would say I'm like, if you, for instance, you said when you turn 21, you go out to drink or whatever.
Yep.
Like none of this stuff phases me anymore. Like I feel like I'm over it. I feel like I've moved past it.
Well, and eventually,
I've realized what God says about it.
Yeah.
So.
And eventually, when you start to get to a point where you say, you know, I'm a Christian. I'm firm in my beliefs. I don't want to cuss. I don't want to party. I don't want to drink. I don't want to cuss. And listen, we'll have to do a topic on drinking probably at some point because everybody has all their own opinions on it. But you know, but when you get to and start being firm on the things that you don't want to do, as a Christian, right, your convictions, eventually people will start respecting it. If you are consistent, right? If you go to a party here and there, and then you skip it, like then people are like, well, you came to the one like last week, why can't you come again? But when you're consistent, eventually people are going to be like, okay, like we're not even going to ask Abram because Abram's not going to go with us.
Right. And I think that's the biggest way I've dealt with it. I think is moving forward is like just like disassociating myself. I don't want to say maybe that's not the right word, but you know the point.
You
like
got to.
Just
You almost
avoiding.
have to.
Yeah, just avoiding those problems because like I know certain people. If I were to hang out with certain people, it's just a given what they're gonna do.
And that brings in temptation.
And that brings me in, and then I think I would become a stumbling block to them.
Yep.
Even if I wasn't participating, I would just be there, and then you know.
There's that temptation that really pushes you to want to go because
Right.
you like the people, you enjoy them, and you want to hang out with them.
But ways around that.
Yeah.
Ways around that is like you can do other things.
Yeah.
Like you can control like for instance, I like people. I like my friends, right?
Yeah.
But there's ways around
let's
hanging
go.
out with them.
Yeah,
like, let's do something else. Like let's go do
let's go play bowling.
go out to eat or you know what I mean? Do something around
Yeah.
that. So that's the good way to deal with it, I think.
I think the thing that I've struggled with a lot in like my personal life is comparison. That's my sin. I compare to a lot of people. I'm a logical thinker. I think about the future, and I don't know. And it goes hand in hand with Andrew's. I'm also a people pleaser. So in a way, I'm like, well, and success in the world's eyes is having a huge house, having lots of money, having a great job, all those things. And what I've been struggling with, especially in the season that I'm in now, is what does God want to do with me? What is my purpose? What does He want me to do? And I know that I have gifts that I can use in bringing people to Christ. And
here's the hard thing about it is you're sitting in a position because you're at that age where you just graduated college.
Yep.
Congratulations. And
thanks.
people, and here's like the world starts to pressure you and go, okay, now it's time for you to become an adult.
Exactly.
You have to get a job. You have to do this. You have to start making this amount of money. And it's hard because everybody's different, right? Just because you graduated from doesn't mean that you know exactly where you're at, and it doesn't mean God is ready for you at the exact same place.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's something that's hard to do as well. Like sometimes God has to move puzzle pieces in order for you to walk into the place that you're supposed to be in.
Yeah, and I feel like we fall victim to that in a worldly standpoint because we think I've heard someone say this a while ago. I don't remember who it was. Could have been a lot of people, but they think by the age of 18 you have to have a full-time job.
Yeah.
They think by the age of 25 you have to have a house.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like we put like worldly times on things, but God doesn't work that way.
yeah.
The Kentucky Colonel, okay?
We're talking KFC?
I'm talking KFC, Kentucky Colonel.
Colonel Sanders.
Colonel Sanders That guy did not start KFC till he was 80. He had.
Do you know the story of how he did it?
Okay, it's long because
It's a very long story.
he went like broke. He was bankrupt. He was all these things, and then very, very like end of his life, 80 years old.
Was it a gas station?
Yeah, he starts passing out his chicken to his neighbors. Didn't end up starting a gas. Anyway, the whole thing is nuts.
You should look it up. It's a very
And my
interesting
point is, and even this, and I don't know if I've said this, but I'll point this out because I've been watching The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. This will be the last time I ever talk about this stupid documentary. But it took Michael Jordan 7 years. 7 years before he got his first championship, right? The greatest ball player of all time, all those different things. It took him 7 years. And when I think of Michael Jordan, I'm just thinking, man, he started playing, he started getting all these championships, he retires. But it took somebody like that who was such a great ball player. He was even good when he was even losing. But it took him 7 years before he became who he was, right? Who we know him as. And so just because I'm in a season of I just graduated, I'm just trying to figure out where life is, like you have to be able to wait before anything happens, before you kind of see where life takes you.
Anyway, that's a good question, Gabe. So
yeah, thank you for that.
thank you for the question.
But I do want to point out one more thing is what we're doing right now, we're trying to tell people as Christians, like, hey, God has you. God has a plan for your life.
Yep.
And I think something that I actually brought up to our youth in last week's Wednesday is very important because I wish someone would have told me the same thing. Is like, you should be living your life for Christ. You don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what? You might not have to go to college. I took the college path, but other people don't have that in their life. They don't want to take that path.
Yeah.
Maybe God's not calling them to that path or anything like that. And I think something that Christians like to do is push the worldly agenda, which is crazy to me because you're a Christian.
Yeah.
You know that, you know God. You know what He wants from us. And then you put your kids in tight situations, your friends' kids, your own friends in weird situations where you just push them and push them and push them away from following the will of God's
And I'm
life.
glad you said that because we literally just, on Wednesday, I passed all these construction workers working up in Cleveland. And I had the same exact thought. I said, these people work their entire lives. Like, I was just using them because I just passed them. I was like, just thought it came to me. And I was like, these people work their entire lives for what? Like, they work for worldly things, like worldly pleasures, worldly money. I mean, they do all these things. They get up, they work all this stuff. But, like, what's the greater goal in life?
When
And as Christians, it's share the gospel.
that used to bother me as a kid. It was like I could not imagine my life going from just the normal 9 to 5 and then going to sleep just to wake up and do it again the next day. That was a thing that really scared me. But it's been the most freeing thing to be able to say, you know what, God, I'm going to give my life over to you, and I'm going to let you control where I end up, where I go. Open the doors, right? Because I don't just. Here's the reality, right? You got to make some moves yourself. So I always tell God, open the doors. You open the doors, I'll walk through them. If you give me the opportunity, all right. If you throw that opportunity in my life, I'll walk through that and I'll take that opportunity. And I think it's the most freeing thing because then God can work better, right?
Yeah.
He can move pieces. He can move you into the place He's supposed to be. And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. There's going to be some situations where you're going to be, questioning things and wondering if this is the right path. But man, when you get to the other side of it,
You
it's
can
like,
look back.
yeah, it's like this makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Even what we're doing here at Trinity, I said to her, I go, man, it makes perfect sense right now that all that stuff happened to bring us to this point. Now, does that mean we know exactly what's going to happen in the future? Absolutely not. Right? We could all be going separate ways within the year.
Mm-hmm.
But knowing what God has done for us just in this moment is unbelievable. And that's the thing. You got to live for the moment.
Look for the moment.
Thanks, Gabe, for that question. That was
That was a
pretty
really
good question.
It sparked a lot of conversation. So anyway, keep the questions coming, people. We appreciate them.
I would tell you the email, but just wait till the outro.
And I already said it once.
Oh my goodness! But listen, I'm excited. We're coming up on the end of our fiscal year, and
Very soon.
And so, this is pretty much the biggest discussion I wanted to talk about on our episode 10 of our podcast is we have a very big vision for the church and for Trinity, for our community, for what God wants to do for us personally in our lives. We have a big vision, but we don't always have a big budget, right? As a church, we're running 140, 150 right before the pandemic happened, and so. We're not a small church really. I mean, technically we still are till 200.
200, yeah.
But we're not so small that we're trying to just pay for the lights and staff and that's it. But we're also not so big that we have a lot of money. So
For our area, we're a large church.
For our area, we're a large church. So how in the world because people always say, you got a team of people that are working with it. You have, you have all this equipment and all this stuff. And so let's talk a little bit about our small budget without numbers. But let's talk about how we operate on a small budget, how we are successful in what we're doing so far and revitalizing the church with not much money. Because even when we started, we had even less money. We didn't have anything.
Right.
Well, I'll say this. We actually just started reading a book together as a staff, and it's called The Simple Church. And when I was reading it, I was like, oh, this stuff is awesome. And then I started to think about, well, we already do a lot of these things. We started really simple. We didn't put so much money into redoing the whole church in some fancy way.
I live by two simple methods, simplicity and consistency.
Yes. And when I was reading this book, I noticed that. I was like,
We should get that on
wow,
a shirt.
we already do that.
I know.
Can we put that on a shirt?
I know. And that's the thing. Because my thing is, do not overcomplicate it. If we overcomplicate things, then it becomes a mess. And most churches have made a bigger mess of situations because they overcomplicate it, right? Because here's the reality. Let's take outreach for an example. If I was going to give away food, I would just contact the free food store bank and say, we want to set up a food distribution, and they would literally, because they have funds from the government, because we're in a state of emergency, they literally would fund us tons of food, and we literally could distribute those foods in our community.
And you get the good look.
And you wouldn't, but then a church, let's say a church starts overcomplicating that situation. They say, hey, let's pass out free food. Okay, we need to collect it. We need to go door to door to collect it. And then you're looking at 4 weeks of just collecting it and then passing it out one day. Then, you know what I'm saying? The whole thing kind of gets overwhelming and you're overcomplicating it. You don't have to overcomplicate things. Everything should be simple. Just keep it simple, right? Stupid, right? The KISS method.
But I think you're right. I think keeping it simple is the easiest way to go. And this book hits the nail on the head because this book, we've only read one chapter.
But we already do the
But
first
we already
chapter,
know.
so.
We already know that this book is going to be fantastic. Okay. And I don't know. The analogy that they use in the first chapter is don't miss the forest for the tree, which I think is a good way to put it. You really have to think about that for a minute. But people nitpick in things, and this applies to churches in general. People nitpick things. They go certain directions. They like, for instance, now like masks and not wearing masks and all these different things. But there's one simple truth to church, and that's to share the gospel.
Yeah.
So.
And when you start to add programs and add different things,
And that's,
you start to get, you talk about even committees inside of churches.
Mm-hmm.
When churches focus so much on committees and the way the churches do it, we have, you have to nominate a nominating committee. The nominating committee has to nominate the people, and then they have to vote on the people that are in these committees, and you have to create the committees. If you want to create a committee, you have to make a motion. It's very confusing. It's very overcomplicated, when really the reality is, what teams do you really need? Like, what teams are going to benefit the church? What teams are going to benefit God? And then let them do it. Don't overcomplicate things. We have a volunteer team, an outreach team that is just, it's fluid, right? They come and go. If they have the time that week, they can be part of it. If they can't, they can't. But it's always going to be there. It's always going to move. It's always going to be really a forefront of our church, I think. And even now we're working on a team that's going to be, I'm calling them the community movers. And they're going to be going in the community and doing some labor for some of our citizens in our community, right? Building decks and fixing gutters and mowing lawns and painting houses. And so we're working on doing that. But that's, again, I can overcomplicate and say, you know what? We need to vote on it as a church. We need to sit there and come up with a game plan on how to do it, or all this different thing. And it's like, no. You have a bunch of people that want to do it and be the hands and feet of Christ. Let them do it. Back away, let them do it.
What it boils down to is sense of urgency. Because if you think about it, if you were to go this route and you say, oh, we have to nominate it, because then at that point you're saying you have to wait till the next meeting, and then you have to wait another month, and then by that time you could already service half the community at that point. So I think it all goes back to just having a sense of urgency in the church, because the reality is nobody knows what next week looks like. Nobody knows what tomorrow looks like. So why not just do it all? Do everything we can today.
And the church has to understand that sense of urgency. The whole church has to understand that with every moment that goes by, with every day that goes by, there's somebody that is in their community that is lost and far from God, that is not getting saved. And so with every day that you miss out on an opportunity to reach out or serve the community, you're missing out on the opportunity to share the gospel of Christ.
I don't know if you said it last. You might have said it on your sermon, but you said the order of your mindset as a church, as a Christian, should be God first, lost people second, your members third. So
I think I said that Wednesday.
I think you said it Wednesday. Might have been Wednesday.
Oh,
But
you did listen to my
I
Wednesday.
thought
I
I
told
did.
you we listened.
But it really stuck out to me because I was like, that's good because so many times and we've talked about this in the past before, inwardly focused things, and when you realize that lost people come before your own church members, I think that changes your outlook on your church.
For sure, and the reality is, so many churches, I guess bigger churches do this more than anything. They go, I was working for a church as part of their youth. They go, you got to come up with a curriculum for the year. You got to come up with a budget for the youth. You got to come up with a 10-point step plan that's all drawn out on how you're going to grow the youth. And it's like, what are we talking about, right? Build relationships with your kids. That's simple. Show them that you're going to be there for them. Share the gospel of Christ with them. Let God's word lead the youth or the church. And you're going to see things go unbelievable. Because here's the reality. A lot of these churches, pastors are coming into these churches, and especially if you're younger, you're going to go to a church that is going to be broken and divided, and they're going to bring in to fix it, right? Most young preachers are coming into a situation that's not ideal for that preacher. Here's the reality, and this is the mindset you got to start having. You cannot go any further. If you're laying, let me think how it goes. If you're laying on the ground, if you're laying on the ground, okay, you can't go any further down. Is that right? You can't fall down. You can't fall down if you're already on the ground. That's what it is. Thank you. You can't fall down if you're already on the ground. You can't fall down if you're already on the ground. So there's only one way to go, right? It's up. And the only way to do that is not to overcomplicate things or this is what we see all the time. Let's take what that church is doing because they're successful and they're doing praise and music and they're doing that. Most of those churches that are successful, it's not the praise and worship that people are going to that church for, right? It's the fact that the pastors cares for them, that they connect with the pastor. It's that the pastor cares for them, or the team. They have teams. I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's simple things that the church is doing that we don't see behind closed doors. We're not seeing what they're doing, but what we see is, they got a praise band. They have a bus. They have a cool hip youth leader. And then we go, we need to emulate that. That's not what you need to emulate. You need to emulate what they're doing as far as the simple things, which is a lot of times just preaching God's word.
Let it transform people's lives.
And let it transform people's lives. And trust that God is going to do it.
That's the biggest thing, because it's one thing to just do it, but if you really believe that, just coming in preaching the gospel is going to do it, then, God will work.
I truly believe this will be a medium-sized church within the next couple of years. Medium-sized church, right? Which is above 200. I truly believe that. Now, you say, Abram, how do you believe it? This church has never seen more than 200 people in it, ever. There's no church in Pelham County that's ever seen more than 200 people in it. Here's why I believe it, because we have 15,000 people in Pelham County. So you're telling me that the church can't get at least 200 of those people?
Yep.
If we can't get 200 of those people, guess what? There's an issue there.
Yep.
There's a problem. That means we're not reaching out to the community. So
Yeah.
we got to keep things simple.
Yep.
Keep it simple, stupid. Go ahead.
And I said this probably a few podcasts back now, but I said, nothing we do makes the Word of God more interesting. The Word of God does not need us. It does not need us. It needs us to spread it, that's it. It doesn't need us to make it more interesting.
And here's the reality. I serve a big God. And so I'm going to have a big vision. Do you know why? Not because God doesn't work within budgets or committees or business meetings or programs. God's a big God. He can do whatever He wants to do. And He can do amazing things. And He can do big things.
I think we undermine that.
And we always do.
Amen.
And so when I start to think of the vision for my church, I want it to be a big vision. I don't care how big or small my budget is. It's going to be a big vision because I truly believe in a big God. And I want the church to reflect that big God.
Wow, that was really good.
I know, man. It's on my heart.
All right, so something that came to my mind is if there are people listening and they are at a church and their members don't want them to do that, what are your guys?
Say it one more time.
If they're at a church and their members do not want them to do that. Let's say there's a pastor out there that is at a church and their members just do not want to do anything.
Run.
What? Oh, wow. Isn't that simple though?
Yes, it is.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Nobody says you have to be at a building at one
Exactly.
church and forever. If your members don't want to do anything, You leave. You run as far away as you can. You go to a church that's going to let you be free and do God's work and do the things that God has called you to do as a person. If God's calling you to preach, you go to a place that's going to let you preach. If you ain't going to go, if they don't want you to preach, then guess what? Then you need to say, this ain't where God wants me to be. And
at that point, you're only hurting yourself.
Or the reality is this. If you truly believe that you're called to be at that church, then you need to step up and start doing God's work and dragging those people with you. I tell people at Trinity all the time, you're either going to be with me or for me, but I'm going to be going forward regardless of what you're going to do. So you can either hop on board or get off, but we're doing it regardless, one way or the other, whether you like it or not. And that has to be your mindset. If they don't like it, guess what? There's plenty of churches. Here's the reality of life. There is more churches in a 10-mile radius than there is McDonald's. Or Walmart. Or a dollar store. So if you can't find another church to go to and serve in, that's your problem.
Thank you. Sorry, I always hear that as an excuse.
And here's the reality. Your church, even no matter how small it is, can have a very big impact. We are getting contacted by media from all over Kentucky asking us our opinion, how we're handling situations. We are having pastors at churches that are 10, 20 size bigger than ours who are contacting us, asking us for advice and how to do these things and how to operate. Next week we're going to be going to a church to help them with their live streaming services. People are coming to us, which is, we're a small church. We're in a rural area. Nobody even knows where Falmouth, Kentucky is on a map. But people are coming to us asking us for advice on how to grow their church. Why? Because we're doing it. Because we have a big vision. And we can do it on a small budget. And this reality of the thing, people in the news are constantly wanting advice from faith leaders. They're constantly wanting to see what churches are doing or how they're handling situations. And the thing is, we're scared a lot of times as the church when those reporters start to ask questions because we think they're going to trick us up. Well, here's the thing: any publicity is good publicity. Say what you truly believe that God wants you to say, and leave it at that. Right? Even if they try to twist your words, you say a prayer before you say what you're going to say. Let God handle the rest. And that's been one of our biggest things. Somebody contacts me and says, "Hey, we want to know how you're handling this situation." I say, there it is. I'll tell it to you. I'll tell it to you real quick. I'll get it to you as quickly as you can because you're on a deadline. I'm on a deadline. And you're going to get that thing in the media. And guess what? Our name gets put out there on tons of platforms. And that's what we constantly do. You just want to constantly get your name out there, not so that you can get publicity or.
You explain that for a minute, because I think that's a common misconception is that we're doing it for publicity or to get our name out there or to be like, hey, look at me. But
here's the reality: more people have contacted us because they've seen our names in a media platform of some way, shape, or form. Hey, Abram, I saw that you had this post about not worrying about the pandemic. I saw it in the Outlook. I saw it in the newspaper. It calmed me down, right? So then they start watching your videos. Then they start hearing the gospel. We've had so many people contact us and say, "Hey, we love what you're doing in the community. We love that you're involved. We love that you're active in the community." And those things are not things that cost us anything. It's just us going out and being open, and it's us being upfront with things that we're doing. If I want to be upfront with everything, I want the whole world to know every step that we do. When we move forward with the church service, when we move forward with the community activity, we want the world to know exactly what we're doing. We want to be an open book so that they can see how God is moving in this church, because it's a miracle that 2 years ago, this church was about to close their doors, and now we're the largest church in this county. That's amazing.
That's amazing. And
the only way that happens is by the grace of God. And so I want to share that with people.
And we believe that.
And I want to encourage not only people in our community that this community can still grow and good things can still blossom from this community, but I also want pastors to know that you can still revitalize a church in 2020. That your life isn't so persecuted that nobody wants to show up at church. Right? They just want somebody that's not down and depressed and constantly yelling at them about the sins that they make. They want somebody that's going to tell them the truth of God and how much that God loves them.
And all you have to do is just find new creative ways to do it. That's it.
And there's plenty of ways to do it.
Yeah,
and as a pastor, you don't have to be the one to come up with the creative things. You have people in your church who are very creative.
Yep.
Find them.
Use them.
Find them, use them, and let them loose. You don't have to be in control of everything. You sit there and go, hey, you want to do this? You want to do an art project around the community? Go right ahead, right? do murals around the community, sharing the gospel through the murals.
Murals.
That's reality.
I hate to cut you off, but we gotta take a break real fast.
All right.
So hold that thought.
I'm on such a.
We were on a roll right
Yeah.
now.
This is great. I love this kind of stuff.
This is we told you, this is a new revamped podcast. We got a intro, or our music. We got a
Intro,
jingle.
outro, we got everything.
We got everything, okay?
So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back and we'll talk a little bit about what happened in our week as a church and talk a little bit more about outreach.
All right, sit tight, don't go anywhere.
All right, we are back on
Part two.
episode 10. We just got done talking about big visions on a small budget. And you know what? I think it's something very true to that statement. You don't have to have a big budget to be a big church. And we want to be a big church in a big way because we serve a God who is big and can do big things for our communities.
What do we got coming up on part 2? Second half.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about our week. We had a crazy week. We're trying to reopen the church. We had a crazy week. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. I want to discuss things I've noticed about Brittany this week.
New set.
And then things I hate about this virus.
Wait, what about me?
That'll be our
when
final
do I get
thoughts.
my?
Maybe if we got time. We won't have time.
Did you mute her mic when she said that?
I think I should.
So, this week's been kind of crazy. So we are in all-out final preparations for Sunday.
Let's just go through a timeline of this week, because last Sunday was our last online service.
Last online services.
So we're already last Sunday we were already starting to be like, okay, next week we're gonna be back in.
We have to get registrations ready because we're
Which
doing
went
two
live last
services. We have to keep services down to a minimum, so we had to put a cap space on that. There, you have to go online and register, and there's only so many people that can register for each
And
time.
then we got thrown a curveball.
Yeah.
Tuesday happened.
Well, hold on. So then the reality is we have to remove
Two
all the hymns and
Yeah.
Bibles out of the pews
You're right.
because of the stipulations and recommendations from our governor. We had to sit there and I had to order disposable masks, which of course is hard to get. I ordered these things 3 weeks ago. They're still not here, and it's Friday, and I need those things by Sunday. So we may not have extra masks, but that's just the reality. Sorry, Governor. Then. We have to have hand sanitizing stations. We have to get signages that are put around the place that just tell people not to social distance, excuse me, and where to enter and where to exit and how not to do anything and how you need to refrain from hugging unless it's a consensual hug. Don't come if you're sick or old or young or healthy, just everything that the government's told us to do. So we've been trying to do that, and so it's been a headache of a week, but we're excited. But it's been a headache of a week. But I thought it was going to be a calm week because I said I had this whole thing mapped out. We're going to be back to church. I could do a little bit on Monday, a little bit on Tuesday, a little bit on Wednesday, and then Tuesday happened.
Well, Brittany mentioned before that internet. We've been dealing with internet.
Oh my
earlier
goodness!
this week, too.
So yeah, Sunday during church, our internet goes out. So we don't have any internet in the
Which
church.
we just got fixed the week
We
before.
just got fixed the week before. The guy comes in. He actually interrupted this podcast to hook up our internet. But although he told us he didn't know anything about the internet, even though he was hired to fix our internet.
Long story.
And nobody wants to drive down to Falmouth, Kentucky to fix it. So it's been an interesting week.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And then the Tuesday curveball you're talking
And
about.
Tuesday curveball.
Like I did say earlier, it has been, no joke, I'm not even kidding, it has probably rained for a week.
In 1997, we had a big flood in this city of Falmouth. And it went 6 feet into the church. So 6 feet, everything under 6 feet was covered, which is everything, right? And so we've been having to deal with the problems still to this day of that flood because we're using the same air conditioning unit as that was flooded.
Yeah.
They just cleaned it out and they put it back in there, so I'm sure we're breathing in clean air. But they had to clean the pews and all this stuff, replace pianos and organs, and anyway, so on Tuesday they were projecting that it would be 10 feet below. It was going to crest. The water in our town was going to crest at 10 feet below the flood of '97, which means it would have probably been close to the church. It wouldn't have probably been in it, but it would have been pretty close. So they asked our mayor and the emergency management team asked for pretty much half the town to evacuate that were in the flood zone. And so it was an interesting time. It happened so quickly that it almost caught me off guard. because it was raining, but it didn't seem like it was raining that hard, to be honest with you.
I think it was just the consistency of the rain. Like,
Yeah.
It just rained for so long, and for so many days.
And there's just nowhere for the water to go.
And like we're already in flood zone, so the river's prone to get high if it rains
And
that much.
I've lived here my whole life, and water comes up and down like this all the time. I don't know why it was such a. It just seemed like everybody kind of went in a panic mode. I think the pandemic also didn't help.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are just already just overly worried. It almost feels like everybody thinks it's the end time, so they're like, oh great, a flood, the world really is ending. But the water kind of came up, and so we had a phone call from a lady that runs one of our local nursing homes and asked us to use our van and transport some of them out of the town, which that was interesting because we took them to a shelter. Then they go, well, because of social distancing, we can't have the shelter open, and so we had to take them from the shelter to hotels in a whole county over. And then we were also looking. That whole day we were trying to contact some of the local restaurants so that we could send food to the shelter so that they could have food. We were going to provide food for them. We were trying to contact some other churches in our area that was being affected and having to move their stuff out. And so it was just a really crazy
for a week
24
it
hours.
was supposed to be pretty simple.
Yeah,
We were like,
simple.
This week's gonna flow by easy. We're gonna go right back into church. We
Yeah.
already had it mapped out, like you said. You already knew exactly how the service was
Yep.
gonna look. We already knew we were gonna do 2 services, and then
We just had to do it.
wrench into plans.
Yeah.
And it really.
But the reality is,
threw
that's
everything
how
off.
God works. Maybe God didn't.
And that's the thing. So it ended up being 5-6 feet lower than the projected crest, so it wasn't even close. So nobody had to evacuate. So then came the second problem. I get a phone call 8 o'clock Wednesday. Abram, we got to get those residents back into Falmouth. And so thankfully we had some good church members who did that on Wednesday and stepped up and went and got them from the other county over and brought them back home. So it was just an interesting thing. It was a little bit of an overreaction, but reality is I think God heard our prayers and spared us. So
I agree.
that was a benefit. But it really did throw a little bit of a, and our energy company in town shut off all the gas because they thought it was going to flood. So they shut the gas off, and so.
So on top of the fear of water, which didn't end up getting as worse as they thought,
Yeah.
people didn't have gas.
They didn't have gas, so they had to. They've been turning those on slowly over the past couple of days. So it's just been an interesting time in our community. We went from, calmness to craziness. But here's the thing that I was really proud of, and I'm looking forward to really making a bigger emphasis on this moving forward, which is our outreach, our disaster relief. I mean, I love Samaritan's Purse so much because it seems like as soon as something happens, they send out a team to go and pray for people and to,
Big team.
every time. They just got done with the pandemic in New York, and they're already sending a team over to Michigan to help with their flooding that they were having. So but I want to do that on a local level, and as soon as something happens locally in our tri-state even, I want us to be able to have a team ready to go send people out there to pray with people, to help with people, to move things, to be a labor, whatever they need. I feel like that's something that we really could benefit from. And again, it didn't cost us any money to evacuate people except for gas, right? So we were able to help. We were one of the few churches that did. We were able to help our residents, and it just cost us gas money. Those are the things that are awesome for us.
If that's all you're paying, it's worth it. It's worth helping people out.
It is.
For some gas money.
And people recognize that. People recognize the churches that are helping, the churches that aren't. They're recognizing the people who said, we're going to come out. We even had a church in the next county over, one of our bigger churches, Plum Creek, who actually reached out pretty much immediately and said, hey, we're Falmouth, we're here, and we're ready to help you guys in any way that y'all need with anything. Because here's the reality. One of our churches outside of the county, that's part of the county, they're just outside, out of the city limits. They were actually asked to help shelter, families. And they're like, no, not going to open up the church to shelter families. Then you have the other church on the other side of the county who's like, we'll open up the church. And you look at the two churches. One's a smaller church that doesn't have anybody, they're dying, who won't help people in a time of need. And then you have the big church that's growing. And they're the ones that are going, hey, we'll open up the church. That's the difference, right? That's the difference of a big vision church, of a church that's there for the community, and a church that's going to die out and be destroyed, right? God ain't got time for those churches that are going to close the door on people when there's a need or a time of crisis. God doesn't have time for it.
Yep, and I think
we don't have time.
I think we can spin it back to what we were talking about earlier in the episode. You know, when churches try to overcomplicate things, like they look at a natural disaster.
We have to have a meeting before we can let somebody.
Yeah,
in.
we're not allowed to go pick people up because we got to have a meeting.
We got to vote on it.
Or even if if they weren't even going to go that route, they say, well, they start diving in too deep of what they could do. They're like, oh, maybe we should go build a house for somebody. Just an example. It's not logical, but like,
it's true.
they immediately go to like this extreme thing that they probably aren't going to be able to do, and they say, well, because we can't do that, we probably shouldn't do anything.
Or they'll say, we do a lot for the community already. We do a play every year for the community, or we, feed them once a week, every week.
Yeah.
So we can't do anything extra, right? We already do
we're
our,
already doing
we already
enough.
do our enough. We already do our community thing. We already spend X amount of money on them, and so. I don't ever want to be that way. I want us to be able to do outreach in different ways all the time. I want us to bless as many people as we can all the time. And when a disaster hits, I want us to be able to run out there and be the first ones out there providing anything that they need, right? If they need labor, we can get it to them. If they need somebody just to pray with people who are going through a tragedy, we want to be that church. And I think that's going to really be one of our calling cards if we can do it right. And I think we did it this week. I think this week proved that we are the church that was willing to help out and be there, and and they gave us credit for it on the news. I heard them say
And I think we could have. We could have went a different route, like with that. Like, just for instance, say like because we're in a flood zone, because the water almost was projected to hit our church, we could have hunkered down and said, we're not going to help anybody. We're worried about our own church.
Yes.
But
we probably should have. I mean, maybe we should have been a little more precautious. But the reality is this, and I told Andrew and Brittany, this is why we have insurance, right? The church, the building can get flooded over and over and over again. It doesn't affect us, right? We'll continue to rebuild. We have the money to rebuild. We have the insurance to rebuild. But there's families in our community that does not have that. They don't have the insurance. They don't have the financial resources or the manpower to move their stuff out and save things that are valuable. I lived through it as a young kid, the flood, where my house got flooded in. And I remember losing all my toys and losing everything and having to restart over again. Now looking back, I sit there and go, this is why I don't care too much about material things now, because I realize
physically you watch
it all could be gone tomorrow. So when one of our kids runs around and breaks the TV in our house, I'm like, who cares? We'll just get another one. But some people don't handle it that way. But that's why. But the reality is that has to be our first response as a church. Is not, okay, let's save the church building, right? Our first response is let's help our neighbors, figure out how we can bless as many people, how we can give the resources out there, and then let's focus on what happens at our church.
Issue at hand, yeah. I think that's a very good way to put it.
And a cool thing too was something that I was really proud of as a pastor was how many of our church members already reached out to other church members that were in the flood zone. I was getting calls on. Because I was sitting there going, okay, who do I need to call? I need to call this person, this person, this person. And then people would call me and say, hey, I already called these people, and I already checked on them. They're already safe. They're already out. They're already getting their stuff going.
Beat you to
and
it.
So, yeah, that stuff was like...
In a good way.
that stuff that, I'll brag on myself. I could care less. When
You're supposed to leave that to Brittany.
I don't... Yeah, that's right.
This podcast
She's
is
not
for
doing
Brittany.
this podcast, so I got to do it myself. No, but that's stuff that, we have to set the example as the leadership. We have to set the example of what we expect our church to do. We have to set that example. I know the Kentucky Baptist Convention, which is our go-to people who we pay into and all that stuff. But I know they just set a goal to I think it was like to witness to like 4,000 people, right? To have that as their have, I guess it'll be a conversion. So I convert 4,000 people to Christ over the next year. And I'm like, that's amazing. Right? Because that's just the staff. They don't have a church, so they literally, in order for them to accomplish that, they actually have to go out and speak to somebody every week. Right? That's their goal for their staff. And when I look at that as a church, I go, man, that kind of leadership is encouraging to me, and it inspires me to do more as a pastor. And I think that's what we have to do for our congregation. We have to sit there and really show them exactly what we want and expect, and then you get these moments when there's a tragedy and all your members start doing things without you having to ask. That is amazing. That's exactly what a church should be like.
Yeah.
A well-oiled machine.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Okay, we're losing Brittany.
She's been real quiet.
I'm not.
She's nervous about the things I've noticed about Brittany, and I will say
If
this.
you're watching the YouTube portion, you could probably notice that Brittany was like had her arm drooped over a little
But
bit.
it's
I think
because
she
I'm
was sleeping.
listening. I wasn't
The
sleeping.
things I've noticed about Brittany. This is this week's things I've noticed about Brittany.
Oh my goodness.
Put up the graphic, please, Abram. The things I've noticed about Brittany this week, I will say this, and I even wrote this down to prove that this was the route I was going to go. But I will say this, Brittany gets things done.
Oh
yeah, that's a
wow, that was
compliment.
nice. I was really waiting for me to get burned again.
Well, last
but-
week was a
roast
was a
session.
rush. She's always in a rush,
You're
which
in a rush.
still applies
Which
this
is-
week.
which
but-
is-
But I think that talks to that. I get stuff done.
But
That's
you
why
do.
I'm always in a rush.
One of the things
But I'm not.
one of the things that I really have been always encouraged, I know.
She admitted she's in a rush. Anyway, go ahead.
One of the things that I've really been encouraged by is the fact that Brittany has, especially lately. I think lately you've even done even more. I think you've gone above with the pandemic.
I told you we're listening.
I know.
I do
She's
not
gone
listen
so
to-
far beyond what we've even asked, and
It's
that
very
is one
true.
thing that I've
This is
noticed.
true.
She has done an incredible job. She has done things that I didn't even know she could do, right? And I appreciate that.
Wow.
Things I've noticed about Brittany.
Wow.
You get
Well,
things
thanks,
done.
Abram. Thanks. That was actually
On your
nice.
time sometimes, but it still gets done.
Did Becky make you say this?
Negative, but I have it written here. Things I've noticed about Brittany. Something positive.
Something positive.
Something positive. He made himself think about the positive.
I tell
That's
Brittany this all the
nice.
time, so I bet it's nice to hear from Abram.
Yeah, it is. Since he is my employee.
And it hurts
Practically.
sometimes to say it, but I said it.
Oh man, that's
Now,
good stuff
let's
right
talk
there.
about this. Here's my final thoughts. Things I hate about this virus.
This has been a very consistent thing for
Oh, my
3
goodness.
episodes now, so let's keep it going. People are looking
And
forward
this
to
what it is. Virtue signaling.
it. Wow, will you explain that?
I don't even know
I
what
will.
that is.
Virtue signaling is when you sit there, you do something good, you do something moral or good, but you don't do it to do something moral or good. You do it so that you can get on Facebook and brag about it, or get on the news and talk about how wonderful you are.
What do you
right?
call it?
Virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling.
And what it is, it's a negative, right? You don't want to virtue signal.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're not doing it. You're doing it really just to say how awesome you are and how terrible everyone else is. You're virtue signaling. You're just, I'm the best because I'm so good and holy, and you're terrible. Now we see this all the time in churches, but the thing about this virus is we're seeing this with masks.
Oh wow.
Oh, and okay, I know where you're taking this. I've seen this week a lot.
I have never in my life thought that this pandemic would bring us to a point where people would be virtue signaling, wearing masks. These people, half of them haven't worn masks up to this point. And the governor says we need to wear masks. Now they're wearing masks and going, I'm wearing a mask for the benefit of you. I'm like, what in the world? I don't even see you. What are you talking about? I don't even see you. What are you talking about? You're wearing a mask because of me? Please do not wear a mask because of me. Wear it for somebody else. Don't wear it because of me.
Hold on, before you go any further, have you seen these videos of these people that are wearing masks with the mouth part cut out? Like they cut around their mouth because they're like they can't breathe, so they're like
I think it's
they're like
hilarious.
it's hilarious. You should look at these videos. They go like people will record them and they're like, hey, I like your mask. Where'd you get it? They're like, oh no, I got it. I bought it at the store, but I couldn't. I had a hard time breathing in it, so I
But
cut a
I
hole.
think that's sad because there are people who have breathing like
Yes.
CPOD and they feel pressured to have to wear masks. COPD. What? Oh.
She said CPOD.
What is
I
it?
don't know what that is.
COPD.
I said it right, didn't I?
It's CPOD.
Oh, COPD. Yeah, but I do feel bad because there's videos of people literally like blasting each other.
Yeah.
They're not wearing a mask. You see them, and the lady's like, I have issues breathing and all
It's
this
awful.
stuff, and they won't let her in the store. And I'm like, what happens if she has no one else
Right.
that can go in the store?
And we talked about, you said it, I think one of your first final thoughts about, or why you hate the virus was mask shaming, I believe.
Yeah, mask shaming. It's all relevant.
Yeah.
These people are getting on social media and they're sitting there going, here's what's even weirder. They'll take pictures of themselves with masks on with their family. Everybody's wearing masks. But then you talk to them behind closed doors and they're like, yeah, we don't wear masks. You know what I'm saying? Like, we go to the store without masks. I'm like, but on Facebook, you're sitting there blasting people that don't wear masks, but you don't wear masks, right? You're blasting people for gathering together, but then you're sitting there gathering with your friends. Like, none of it makes any sense. And it's not fair. It's not Christ-like. It's not loving. Yelling at people for not wearing a mask is not doing something benefiting them. Right? It's not loving them. I'm doing it to love you. No, you're
It's not benefiting your witness.
If you're doing it because you want to feel woke, you want to feel good.
Woke.
I said it. I went young.
Wow.
And it really drives me nuts. And I always say this. If you're close enough to me that I have to wear a mask in order to protect you. I'm going to say this again.
Say it again. Say it again. Real loud so the people in the back can hear.
If I have to wear a mask. No, so I almost messed it up.
Scratch that.
If you're close enough to me that I have to wear a mask to protect you, then you are the problem. Stay 6 feet apart. That's all you got to do. Stay away from me. Okay? Because the CDC just came out and said, oh, by the way, I know we've been saying scrub all your Amazon packages and your grocery store things, but we just found out that really it doesn't really stay on services very long. So you don't really need to do that.
That's the craziest thing to me.
We
about
discussed
this
this
whole
yesterday.
thing
We discussed this yesterday in the car.
It's changing every day.
The people that we look to be experts about diseases and all this stuff know nothing, but we're here putting out all this information that they're saying.
It is changing every single day.
Oh.
All the time, it is changing. Constantly. Nothing has stayed the same. Because when we first started out, they said, whatever you do, do not wear masks.
I remember that. And then, yeah, because they said you're actually hurting yourself.
You're hurting yourself even worse. You're hurting it if you wear a mask. And then they go,
Now they say you have to.
You have to. I mean, it's so confusing. And this is the thing that, as a pastor, it's been very, it was just weighed heavy on me for so long because I'm like, who in the world am I supposed to be listening to? Whose advice am I supposed to be taking? Should I be waiting till August to start the church back up? Or am I doing something terrible for the community if I open it up in May? It is so confusing. And eventually I just had to say, you know what, I'm tired of it. And so I just stopped listening. Stop.
You don't have to listen to them either.
Stop listening.
You don't have to report yourself to them. You report to God. You're a pastor. You report to God. You're the one that's leading your
respect our
flock.
authority according to
We
the Bible.
are,
That is true.
but
The Bible.
they're making
But
it
you're exactly
so
right.
difficult
They are.
to even spread
And it's
the
not even
gospel.
just the church. It's not even just the church.
No, not just the church.
They're making it
everything.
impossible for everything. You're telling me that some restaurants can open up, because here's the thing that I've heard and I agree. What's the difference between 33% of people in your business or 32?
Yeah.
Like what is
Where do you draw the line?
Like where do you draw the line? Why can't 50% be in there? Why is that too dangerous but 33% is okay? Why is Walmart being open okay but then, smaller businesses can't be?
You can go that route with just about anything. Why is certain things allowed to open on this day and certain things aren't allowed to open on this day?
It's the most confusing
Crazy.
thing, and it's
Because in Ohio, June 1st, you're allowed to have 300 people at a reception.
at a wedding.
Wedding reception.
Yeah, you can have 300 people in Ohio at a wedding reception, but you cannot have 300 people. Like you can only have 33% though. When it comes, like, why isn't 33% the number for weddings?
And 33% of our church can only meet. That makes no sense.
That's what I'm saying. It's the most confusing thing I've ever witnessed in my life, and everyone has a different opinion.
Mhm.
Everybody's doing,
That's the hard thing.
and people are so upset that you aren't doing what their opinion is. It's like, I don't care. There's a lady that's sitting there bashing churches because they're like, oh, that church is singing over there, and that pastor wasn't wearing a mask. Are you kidding me?
How are you supposed to preach?
How are you supposed to preach with a mask on? And guess what? Who cares? Like, you don't go to that church. Like, who cares?
And it's so sad because this week I actually saw where a church was burned down
Yep.
because someone was so mad that they were meeting and gathering. That's just
Scary
it just
stuff.
floors me.
And the church down the street had
Windows,
bullet holes
all
in their
bullet holes,
windows.
something like that. Yeah, I was like, wow, that's where we're at right now. That's crazy.
Yep. Well,
I never thought it would get to that point.
Now, I would also say though, churches are still not being completely persecuted
Yeah.
as far as what they're doing overseas. We're still pretty blessed in America.
Yes, we are.
Because we are free to do whatever, and we haven't had any. Our local officers have not given us any grief, and we've followed along with the governor as much as we can. But I'm excited to get back to church.
Me too.
I just for some, and this will probably be something I'm going to have to preach on, and really it's going to be just our church. Really, it's going to have to abide by this, but we have to really make sure that we are above the worldly opinions and the worldly arguments and quarrels, because it doesn't benefit God.
Yeah.
And it's really causing a lot of pain to a lot of people. And this is what I wish people would understand. By you getting on there yelling at somebody who says, I don't want to wear a mask today, by you getting on there as a Christian, yelling at them saying, no, you need to wear a mask to protect me again. I'm going to wear one to protect you. Like, you're hurting them. It's causing them pain and hurt. And that's what I hate the most, because they go, I don't want anything to do with that person. I don't want to do anything with that church. And I don't want to do anything with the God that they serve. Because just because of that.
Hurt your witness.
Hurts your witness, hurts everything. Hurts the church. And I get that the church is filled with people with different opinions and different backgrounds. But do we have to express them all the time? No, we don't. We don't need to express them.
Well, you should always ask yourself one question. And that should be, how does this benefit God? How does this please God? And whatever the answer to that question is, that's how you move forward.
If it doesn't, move on. If it doesn't, move on. And I'm a very opinionated person. So I get it. There's something freeing about being able to just express your opinion and saying, who cares what anybody thinks? But at the end of the day, we have a job to do as Christians. And that's not to get caught up in the worldly things. But it's to follow Jesus Christ and the things that he has done.
Amen,
Listen,
brother.
I'm excited for our new episode 10. We finally made it, and I'm excited about our theme song. So thank you, Adam Crozier, for providing that. That's my brother, my oldest brother. He provided
Appreciate
that.
it, Adam. Thank
If
you
you
for that.
want to hear some more stuff from Adam, or reach out to him for your own jingle, I'm sure he would do it if you paid him. Go. I'm trying to think.
He's on Spotify.
He's on everything. Adam Crozier on Spotify.
Apple Music.
You can. He's getting ready to release a new song, I believe, this week, maybe later
I
this
thought it
week.
was this weekend.
And if you want to know how to spell the last name, it's Crozier.
Doesn't know how to spell our last name.
I mean, some people might think it's like an S. Like
That's also a double
Crozier.
benefit because
Everybody-
our YouTube
everybody-
channel is Abram Crozier Ministries.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Nobody has a problem spelling our name. Everybody knows it.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway,
This is what it is.
So I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Find
Adam.
Adam on Twitter, on Instagram, on Adam Crozier Music, I think is what he goes by a lot of times. And I should probably get more information on that. I'll post it when I post it. But we appreciate it. So anyway, we'll hear a little outro from him. And man, we appreciate it. We'll see you at episode 11.
I cannot believe it's getting ready to be episode 11.
Where's the double digits?
Going to double digits.
Anyway,
I'm Abram Crozier.
I'm Andrew Becker.
And I'm Brittany.
See ya. Hey guys, what's up? We thank you for listening to our podcast today. If you have any questions, you can email us at preachingyoung, no caps, no spaces, @gmail.com. Hope to see you next time.